Most people go their entire life without ever stopping to ask the questions, did I actually choose this or did this just happen to me? And I'm not talking about something dramatic like quit your job, sell your car, or find yourself in bullet kind of thing. I'm talking about something like way smaller than that. Like a 5 minute kind of daily habit to just like sit down and kind of think about, is this actually where I want to be in life? Or am I just going through the motions without actually knowing where you are, if that makes sense? Because here's the thing about your brain, right? It doesn't default to reflection, it defaults to reaction. So, like, whatever is the loudest in the brain just wins, right? Whether that's a deadline, a notification, or a text. It's taking in so much information in a day than people 200 years ago took over in like over months, if you think about it. And none of it's really designed to make you stop and think. Like back then, it was a lot more simpler. There was no phones. There was a lot less technology, and people were more focused on their selves rather than the world around them, their family, their close group of friends. And with all of this technology, it's just really designed to make us kind of just keep scrolling and keep in this loophole. So your brain ends up thinking about everything except that one thing that actually matters is, where is this all going? Like, where is my life going? And if you think about it like this, most people are on a train and they get on at some point, they're moving. They can feel the motion, so it feels like progress. But no one ever actually checks the destination. Just assume that because you're moving, you're going somewhere good. This isn't necessarily a problem, but this has been examined for a long time. Socrates said it 2,400 years ago. The unexamined life is not worth living. People have been flagging this exact issue for literally thousands and thousands of years, as long as we can ever remember. And somehow, we still don't build in time to ask this simple question. And the reason this matters is because if you can't ask the questions now, then when will you? And as long as that time goes, it just gets heavier and heavier. People hit 40, people hit 50, and suddenly they're asking the right questions. Is this actually what I wanted? For the first time. Except now there's a mortgage attached to that answer, a marriage attached to that answer, a decade attached to that answer. And honestly, it's harder for us than it used to be. Like back in the day, there were fewer paths, like fewer careers, fewer whatever. And even though you would say it's less opportunity, but it made it much simpler for us humans. And you kind of knew what on track to look like. Now you've got so many unconventional versions of success getting shoved in your face every single day. And it's like some 19-year-old who just dropped out and built a company. Some guy who got jacked and became an influencer. Someone who never went to college but is somehow talking about how to make scale 10-figure businesses. And so it's not that we think about this stuff less. It's just what we think about constantly but never on purpose. It's all noise, just no signal. So let me actually get into why I've been thinking about this, right? So back in high school, I was always doing YouTube, which I put in my previous video, and at some point I dropped it. And I felt like that totally shifted my focus. I completely shifted that to school. And ever since, that's kind of been the question on my mind is, was that the right choice? Obviously, if you think about from one perspective, I got my academics straight, I got into a good college, which I'm grateful for. I got a good amount of scholarship money to support myself. Obviously, I still need a little bit of help, but I'm grateful for what I have. But I would say now that so back in high school, I was doing YouTube, and at some point I dropped it. I stepped away completely to focus on school. And ever since then, there's always been this lingering question in the back of my head. What if I hadn't quit? Would I have actually made it work? Would I be somewhere completely different from where I am right now? Or would I have just gone nowhere and I've just wasted years chasing it? But to be fair, I don't think I ever got better after leaving. My schoolwork or I do think I did get better. My schoolwork straightened out. I'm on track to apply to medical school, even though it is pretty hard, the MCAT, and I'm studying bioengineering. And honestly, if you told me that, I probably wouldn't believe you back in 10th grade. The kid who would post videos on the school laptop. And I feel like that's why YouTube ultimately got banned. Could be me. And here's just when things get complicated. Like with how many unconventional paths we have to success nowadays, sometimes I ask myself, like, is this conventional pre-med path the path I'm supposed to be on? Did I actually make the right call, or did I just take the safer looking one? Like, fundamentally, it's just basic psychology. With more options we have, the less satisfied we are when we ultimately choose the option. So I forgot what that concept was. I probably should remember it since I'm studying MCAT, but at least I kind of related it. And this question really came up to my head recently with something completely unrelated. Like, I do a lot of lifting now, like, which was a pretty recent thing. I've always swam, but recently got into lifting. And I also have a spine condition. Like, on paper, that should kind of limit what I should do in the gym, like in terms of heavy lifting. And yeah, I ended up getting like really big anyway, like further than I expected, like given like the diagnosis. Obviously this came after I lifted, but you know, this just makes it harder to quit now. And that kind of, I guess, provokes some questions in my head. Like, how much of my life is actually the result of the decisions I made on purpose, or like just stuff that just happens, you know? Like, am I going to let this condition stop me from lifting? Or am I just going to, I guess, live with it, adapt with it? And even though many people, like close family and doctors, tell me to just, I guess, throw it away altogether, I just feel like, you know, if I'm going to live my one life, and I think I'd be happy with this decision. Just lift it, you know? It's like that scene in Sunny Hayes, or in F1, where Sunny Hayes says to Ruben, if the last thing I do is race this car, I'll choose that life every time. And I deeply resonate with that. Like, F1 is one of my favorite movies of all time. So that really moved me when he said that, because I could relate to it in some sense. And I think the difference between people who feel lost later and people who don't isn't that one group made all the right choices. It's just one group actually stopped and to check it along the way, and just the other group just kept moving and hoped it'd work. Like, for instance, I feel like this, since even though I'm doing pre-med, but lots of people don't realize it, like, until it gets closer to like junior college. Like high school, you know, you romanticize like getting into med school, but as you get closer, you're starting to realize what 10 years is, you know? Like, for young people, 10 years is a lot. Like, I'm 20, right? 10 years is half of my life. And am I going to commit another half for this career? Do I want to? And I think asking those questions before actually doing it saves a lot more time, rather than going to 10 years of something I may be unhappy about. I could just spend a couple days thinking, pondering on it. And so anyway, here's the first thing that actually helped me. So I feel like building in kind of a routine just to go and check a little bit. Like, I would say making these kind of videos helps me kind of analyze my thoughts. Like, every time I think of a video idea, is mainly what's on my mind right now, and then I just hit post. And second, don't ask super vague questions. I would say, like, I feel like asking specific questions is great. Like, what's my purpose is super vague, and I think answering those questions through like journaling and kind of, or just talking to someone or talking to no one, like I'm doing right now, helps in answering those questions. And did I choose this, or did I choose anything else, or did I not choose anything else? Because after all, it just comes down to saying yes is saying no to another thing. Like, for example, if I was to commit to med school, and from what I've been hearing, there's no such thing as a summer break after the first year, and you have no time to do your own thing after like each rotation, right? Going to your third year medical school, your rotations are like 6 hours long. Obviously, or not 6 hours, it's like 12 hours long, right? So it's from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. After that, you're just washing up, eating dinner, and then all the time is just spent, and then you're sleeping for the next day. So you really don't have that much time, given you're going to spend the next 10 or more years into this career. And also ask, what would I be doing right now if no one was watching and nobody could judge me for it? Like, what hobbies do you have? Like, for me, content creation, even though probably a lot of people would watch this. And which part of my life are on purpose and which parts just happen to me. Like, for medical school, I've asked myself a lot is, was I just handed this pre-med path because, my grandmother passed away and my dad thought this would be a promising career, or did I actually discover it and realize this path is for me? But yeah, I guess to end it on a better note, the truth is, you can't control everything, right? You can't control the exact outcome, but I would say to make your best effort to try to live life intentionally. I mean, after all, I have one, and and it comes down to like a lot of personal things, like for example, like in relation to our careers, or like for me, is this YouTube thing kind of what I think it is, and is this pre-med thing what I think it is? And but the thing you can control is when to actually check in on yourself. That's what you control. So yeah, I know it's a bit long, but thanks for